Good evening, everybody. Very sorry that I'm on here kind of late and everything like that. Um, I finally found a workaround for the slides. They're not nearly as elaborate as I want them to be, but it's enough to kind of paint a picture of what we're going to be dealing with this game tonight and everything. This is not going to be a really long show. I've got about 5 or 6 things that I want to go over in regards to it. The technical difficulties kind of held me up of getting to where I wanted to be. Again, also sorry for the lighting. One of the bulbs went out in that thing like 10 minutes ago, and now it's like really, really dark in here. And I haven't really had a chance to play around with the settings, but I might do that here in a moment. But the game's in 45 minutes, so I kind of want to get on with the show here to get started. I'll get to some of the comments here first, and then we'll go from there. Frank the Tank says, got it. What's up, buddy? I'll be smart enough to use YouTube correctly from now on. Dude, I post videos on YouTube, and I still haven't figured out how to use it, so don't feel bad. Catherine Bartlett, I knew I would hear from you. Good to see you, ma'am. So excited for tonight, both my teams. Yes, absolutely. So are you happy if one wins more than the other, or are you just sad or just happy in general that it's happening? How does that work? I'm genuinely curious to know, because I also I follow other teams, not like as much as I do the Canes, obviously, but I like the Vancouver Canucks. I like the Nashville Predators. I did like the Arizona Coyotes when they were still there. But I never cheered for them over other teams, but I definitely could watch a game that, contained any of those teams and really, really get into it. Like the Stanley Cup Finals when it was Vancouver versus Boston, I got really, really into that. Catherine says, I just don't want to blow out either way. I don't think it will be. I really don't, but I'm going to get into all that here in just a moment. All righty. So first things first here. The Colorado Avalanche being a under 500 point percentage team, do not expect that to last. I'm going to get into that here in a moment. So no changes with the lines as far as the Canes go. Colorado, their lines look a little bit different based on what I saw on Money Puck earlier when I wanted to get some more things into the show that I never had the chance to get into. But anyway, so what we have here, Canes are sticking with the same lines, and I don't see why they wouldn't. Things are going really, really, really well for Carolina right now, and there is absolutely no reason to change anything that they're doing. So they're sticking with everything from top to bottom. Pyotr Kochekov gets the start tonight. Rod has already stated, he told Walt Ruff that Spencer Martin will get at least one start on the trip. That makes total and complete sense, especially considering next weekend we have the Saturday-Sunday back-to-back, which I'll actually be down there for. And I'll be sitting with my good friend AB over from Caniac Sessions. So we will see Spencer Martin. I think that we'll see him on Tuesday night versus Vegas. That's what I'm expecting. Or Monday night or whenever it is. Forgive me for not knowing. I've been really, really busy trying to catch up on stuff. But I do think we'll see Spencer Martin in the next game. Kochekov will take the game after that. And then obviously they'll split the weekend at home. Now, the Avalanche projected lineup here, the first thing I want everybody to take note of here, look at the bottom where it says injured. Ross Colton, who was really, really driving the power play for them, and it's still going pretty well. Miles Wood, excellent bottom six forward, very, very good forechecker, very good 200-foot game. He's one of those guys that you don't really notice how badly he affects you or how effective he is until he's out of the lineup, and you don't really feel how badly you miss him until after he's been out, especially for a few games. Jonathan Drouin is out with an upper body injury, and of course Gabriel Landeskog, his saga is ongoing with his injuries. I hope he plays again. I really, really like him. And Tucker Pullman has a head injury. So they have Calvin DeHaan, Oliver Shillington, and Capo Kakinen scratched. Alexander Grigoriev, last I saw, was expected to get the start. We'll talk about that in a little bit, how that can be a strong point for the Canes. Now, when we look at the overall depth here, Carolina does have an advantage, but Colorado still got plenty of dangerous pieces up and down their lineup. So for a top line, Arturi Lehkonen, Nathan MacKinnon, and Mikko Rantanen, that is still a solid top line. Especially someone like Nathan MacKinnon makes everybody around him better. You could put two random fourth liners around there and they would still put up decent numbers. Second line, you have Yoel Kiviranta, Casey Middlestat, Logan O'Connor. And then for a third line, you have Ivan, yes, that is his real name, Parker Kelly, Nikolai Kovalenko. And then for their fourth line, Nikita Prishishev, TJ Tynan, and Chris Wagner. Now, the defense, I know that Colorado is not winning a ton of games at the moment, but this defense right here is one that I've said, at least when it comes to their top four, This defense right here, along with Dallas, are the two that I immediately say is on par with the Hurricanes, even with the steps back that were taken by losing a player that was better than Shane Gostisbehere in free agency. But Devontae's, Cale Makar, that is one of the best pairs, and at times is the best pair in the National Hockey League. Cale Makar does wonders when he has possession of the puck. He jumps into the rush at the right times. He's very, very fast. He's one of the best players in the world. At times, you could argue that he is the best player in the world on certain nights. And then Devontae's is an excellent safety valve for him that allows him to operate with nearly impunity at times. Devontae's is one of the best shutdown defenseman that also integrates a two-way game into how he plays, and that allows Cale Makar to do all that crazy stuff that he does. It takes a village to raise a child. It also takes a village to let Cale Makar operate the way that he does. So that pair is something to keep an eye on. Samuel Girard and Josh Manson, very, very good second pair. Their last pair, John Ludwig and Sam Malinsky, still pretty solid, but this defense right here is still excellent. It's like I've always said, their top four is on par with Carolina's, and the only other defense that I would throw up there immediately is Dallas in that regard, but something to keep out there. So Alexander Georgiev is supposed to get the start tonight. We'll get to at the end how he's a little bit of a weak point possibly, so that maybe that the Hurricanes can exploit that. All right, so here's where we have a little bit of a statistical anomaly. There will be very few, if ever at all, again, you will see occasions where a team is 36.2% on the power play, second in the NHL in that power play, and under 500, especially a team that is up and down as good as Colorado is. In the case of the Colorado Avalanche, they have a 36.2% power play versus a 24.3% for the Hurricanes. They have a very, very big advantage there, where Carolina has a very big advantage is in the penalty kill department, 84.8% for Carolina, 70.3% for Colorado. Now, Carolina has done a really good job keeping 84.8 their number, considering they have had an inordinate amount of 5-on-3s over the last few games. So when I got back from the cabin yesterday, after I chilled out for a little while in the afternoon, those of you who follow me on X know what I was actually up to. I woke back up after downing a few Crown and Cokes, and I watched the replay of the Philadelphia game and the Pittsburgh game, both from this past week when I was out of town. Carolina's penalty kill is clicking right now. The only reason it's not above 90 is because of the 5-on-3s that it's had to face, or at least close to 90. It would be significantly higher. So if this becomes a special teams battle, this is where Colorado's 36.2% power play might meet its match in Carolina's penalty killing. That being said, we don't want this turning into a special teams battle, because honestly, it's not going to be that different if you're factoring an overall special teams net positive between the power play and the penalty kill. This is one of those times where the more 5-on-5, the better for the Canes. Face-off percentage, Carolina, 49%, sitting in 21st. That's something that does need to improve, even though I'm not the biggest believer that face-offs are the end-all, be-all of a lot of things. There's a lot of better measurements for possession nowadays, but face-offs are important. Carolina definitely does need to get back up there. Colorado struggling in that department a little bit, 45.8%. Now, here's where stuff gets really interesting. It is because of 2 or 3 games in particular, this number is a little bit inflated in regards to Carolina. Goals for per game, Carolina has 4.17. They are third in the NHL at that. And if you had asked anybody, myself included, after this offseason, if that was going to happen at any point during this season, I would have told you no. So they're scoring a lot of goals right now. It is not going to stay above 4 per game as the season goes on. If it stays above 3.5, I'll be very happy. But I personally don't see that happening. But everything is clicking for the Canes in the offense aspect, 5-on-5 right now. Power plays 0 for 6 throughout November. Tonight might be a good chance for them to fix that. We will see. So then you go into goals against per game, 2.33 for Carolina, second in the NHL. Excellent. That's how you know that this team is playing to its strengths, having this identity when it has a 85% ish or greater penalty kill, and goals against per game are staying not only just below 3, but well below 3. Now, here's where Colorado, 31st in the NHL, 3.93 goals against per game. Some of that is on the struggles that they're having 5-on-5. A lot of it has to do with their injuries, because they're missing a lot of their good players. Miles Wood is probably their premier penalty killing forward, and he's out. And he does a lot of stuff 5-on-5 that, say, Jordan Staal does for the Hurricanes. So him being out, not helping them at all. You go over to players to watch. Regular season, Jack Ross, this is over the last 5 games. Jack Roslovic has 6 goals. Nathan MacKinnon has 2. Martin Necas 8 assists. Nathan MacKinnon also 8 assists and points. Martin Necas has 12 in the last 5 games. Nathan MacKinnon has 10 in the last 5 games. So we're going to go into more specific stuff here. I'll get to some of the comments first, and we will do that. Let me go back over here. All righty. Catherine says a close game that showcases both teams would be ideal. Yes, I would like to see that. I would really like to see that. Frank the Tank, let's go Canes. Yep, let's go. B, what's up, dude? Any word on Freddie and when he may return? No, not that I have seen yet. I want Freddie to be back, but one thing I can safely say, Kochetkov is taking advantage of the opportunity. I think he's making the most of the moment. Now, don't get me wrong. He's done some boneheaded stuff at times. Like, I'm not going to pretend that he hasn't. Like, I was watching that game. I was watching the replay of when they played Philadelphia on Tuesday, it was. And I was like, okay, Cooch, I like the fact that you're playing with a little bit more control, but now you're creeping into hesitancy territory with some stuff. And then when they played against the Penguins on Thursday, Kochetkov played the exact opposite of, like, not being in control. I felt like that was one of his best games that he's had yet, where he was in control of himself the whole time. He was still aggressive. He was coming out as far as he needed to make himself big and take away the sight picture of the net and everything like that. But he wasn't going for those crazy poke checks at the top of the circle or anything like that. He was still playing, for lack of a better term, untethered, but still kind of tethered to the front of the net. And I felt that he played much better. If he plays more and more games like that, definitive starter job and a nice payday is his. So I was really, really happy with how he played against Pittsburgh. If he can build on that type of game, he's going to be fine going forward, because we want him to be aggressive. We want him to be decisive. We want him to use the poke check because he's really good at it. But one of the other things I noticed the other night, he was really good at coming out to play the puck. He wasn't doing risky stuff with it behind the net. And there were a few times where he would have came out the net to try and play the puck that he actually stayed put, let the defense do its job, let the forwards catch up on the back check. Kochetkov is starting to make some progress. And it seems like when he gets these consistent starts, he starts playing this way and he gets on a roll and he keeps doing this. He did this last year when Freddie Anderson was injured. So this is one of those times where he needs to just keep doing what he's doing. Out of the next 5 games, he's going to probably start 3 of them. Like I said, I think Spencer Martin is going to start probably either Saturday against Ottawa or Sunday against St. Louis, and he'll start one of the other 2 on the road. I imagine that Spencer Martin will play against Vegas in the next game. That's what I think is going to happen, but I'm very impressed with how Kochetkov has been over the last 2 games in particular. Still some small adjustments to make, but once he finds that happy medium between being himself and not coming out too far and pretending that he's Tim Thomas, but even further out, then we'll be okay. But Kochetkov going to Area 51 to try and poke check people, that shit has to stop. And it seems like he's got that a little bit more under control. So let's see what else we got here for comments. Matthew P., what's up, dude? Had to fly this morning and play this evening. I'm a bit worried about our start. Yeah, especially with the altitude adjustment, that is probably going to be a factor for the boys, but we'll see how they do with it. I mean, this team is incredibly well conditioned, i.e. Rod Brindamore is their coach. If any team can handle it, it is this one. So we will see how they do. I think they'll be okay. I'm expecting a slow first period, but we'll get into that when we get to winning elements here in a little bit to talk about it a little bit more. Travis C., what's up, dude? What's good, bro? Hope you've been doing well. Hopefully we'll stay hot tonight. Yeah, I think we will. I think Carolina will win tonight. It's I'm not expecting a blowout, but I'm not expecting a super close game either. I think it's going to be separated by 2 goals. Empty netters not accounted for there. So let's see here. All righty. Okay, so here's where we have to talk about how Colorado is scoring, or where Colorado is getting their offense from. So in the case of the Hurricanes, where I feel like the Hurricanes have a big advantages in scoring by committee. Now, we've seen that over the years. This is going to be one of those games where it's really, really applicable. Now, this, as far as their forwards go, this is Colorado and everybody that they have that are scoring. Nathan MacKinnon already has 25 points, and he's played 14 games. This guy is unreal. He is an absolute animal. He's one of the best players alive. And honestly, if you had someone who never watched hockey before sit there, watch Nathan MacKinnon and Connor McDavid play against each other, they might not be able to tell much of a difference because Nathan McKinnon is that good. He can get the better of players that are that good at any particular shift. Mikko Rantanen, 6 goals, 11 assists for a total of 17 points. Casey Middlestat also has 15 points for 6 goals and 9 assists. Ross Colton, who unfortunately is out of the lineup with the broken foot, he had 8 goals, 1 assist for 9 points, of which half of his goal production came on the power play. He was really working that bumper spot for them. Kovalenko has 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points. Ivan has 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. Yoel Kiviranta, 4 goals. Now, the thing I want to highlight, out of all those forwards listed right there, everybody below them has 2 points or less. So Colorado is getting the overwhelming majority of their offense from Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Casey Middlestat. They're the only guys that are in double digits for them for points. Now, as you can imagine with the defense, Cale Makar, 23 points already in 14 games. He's the guy who really drives the offense from the back end for them. So 5 goals, 18 assists. He's really, really helping drag this team along and keep everything going, even though they've had a bit of a slow start. Samuel Girard chipped in some offense as well. 6 assists, 6 points. Josh Manson with 1 goal, 4 assists for 5 points. And, excuse me, Malinsky with 3 assists and 3 points. Now, one thing, actually, Catherine, I'm glad you brought this up because I was actually about to say something like this. Ignore the plus minus. Their struggles have resulted in 8 empty net goals against. Yes. So one of the biggest things here's one of the reasons I don't put a lot of stock in plus minus. And I'm actually, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity. I've been wanting to make a short out of this. The plus minus stat needs to be amended. First off, plus minus should only be awarded during even strength play. And I would even wager, let me rephrase that. Plus minus, the way it's recorded needs to be amended. It should only be 5-on-5 that plus minus is recorded. Anything else is in a regular situation. It's a special team situation, or it's 4-on-4, which doesn't happen much, or it's 3-on-3 during regulation, which is not going to happen probably ever again. So plus minus, for example, if you take a penalty, you go in the box and the other team scores, you don't get a minus for that. But the guys that were on the ice trying to kill off the penalty that you took, they get a minus. You score a goal on the power play, you don't get a plus, and that's why it looks like people go to the plus minus column and they automatically assume because someone's a -7 throughout the season that they're not a good player defensively or that they're a power play merchant. That rule just needs to be changed. I think they need to just have on ice goal differentials for every category: power play, penalty kill, and even strength, and leave it at that. Plus minus is a very misleading stat. I don't like it, especially in the post lockout era. In the no 2-line pass era where everything moves a lot faster, the players are significantly more skilled on average. Plus minus is just a dumb, outdated stat. I wish they wouldn't use it so much for everything, and people try to use that argument for so many things. Plus minus does not tell much of a story. It is nothing more than a reference point. It gives you somewhere to go. For example, if you see Jacob Slavin as a -2, that doesn't happen. But if you see Jacob Slavin's a -2, okay, why is Jacob Slavin a -2? Well, he gave up 2 goals, one 5-on-5 because he got hung out to dry, and then another one during a 5-on-3 on a penalty kill where he blocked the 3 shots before that went to the net. Plus minus is not a good stat, especially nowadays. So, Catherine, everything you're saying there is correct. That's why I tend to just kind of ignore plus minus unless I'm applying it in the regard of expected goals against and expected goals for, which comes out to expected goals percentage, which is also known as expected plus minus, and that's even strength only. That stat I'm a little bit more okay with, but plus minus I think is an obsolete stat. It needs to be amended. The way it's recorded needs to be amended, or it just needs to be removed from the game entirely. One or the other, it's just not good. It never has been good, but in this modern era of hockey, it is incredibly misleading. So there's that. So yeah, not taking into any account into the plus minus. I don't trust that stat worth a damn. So let me put this back up here. All right, there we go. So the big thing to realize here is you're not seeing a whole lot of names on this list that have 2 points or greater. Now, when you go to the next slide, okay, that was the forwards again. All right, so here's where the Hurricanes are as far as recording points. Every forward on the team has greater than 4 points with the exception of William Carrier and Jordan Stahl. Now, I'm not going to go through here and read everybody off, but I will tell you who the top ones are, and you probably already know. Martin Necas has 7 goals and 14 assists for a total of 21 points. Andrei Svechnikov has 13 points, 5 goals, 8 assists. Sebastian Aho has 3 goals, 9 assists for a total of 12 points. Don't worry, that's going to go up. I saw the way that he played in the game against Pittsburgh. He's finding his footing. He's defense first, but he's finding that extra playmaking element now. I don't think he'll ever get close to scoring 40 goals again like he did in the 2019 shortened 2020 season, but I can see him, if he hits 100 points, it'll be because he has 55, 60 assists. That's not happening this season. I think next season is when that's going to start happening because he'll have the team around him to do it. Jack Roslovic has 9 goals. The bum only had 1 assist. I'm just kidding. I like Roslovic. You guys know that. And for a total of 10 points. And then lastly, I'll say Seth Jarvis has 9 points, 4 goals, 5 assists. Jesperi Kotkaniemi, 1 goal, 7 assists for a total of 8 points. He's on the right track. Most of those are secondary assists, which means he's doing his job. Now, you go over to the defense. You don't have anyone like Cale Makar back there putting up the numbers that Cale Makar does. What you do have is a good even distribution of points throughout the entire lineup there on the blue line for the Hurricanes. Gostisbehere, 4 goals, 5 assists for a total of 9 points. Orlov, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points. Burns, 5 assists. Jacob Slavin recorded his first goal the other night, along with 4 assists for a total of 5 points. Chatfield has 4 assists. I believe that all of those are secondary, which is really cool to see Chatty hit that extra gear as far as the playmaking department. Sean Walker only has 1 goal, but he has played excellent, and I'm expecting a really, really big game out of him tonight, considering he's playing against the team that he most recently played for before he signed with Carolina. Sean Walker will start scoring more as he adapts to the system. He's keeping it very, very defense first, which is what he needs to do. He's primarily there to be a safety valve for Gostisbehere and chip in some secondary scoring for that defensive pair. Once Walker is really, really comfortable with the entire system, it looks like he's very comfortable with his defensive partner. Once he's really comfortable with the system and he starts gaining more confidence of when he can join the rush, when he knows that somebody is going to be able to cover the point for him, or when he knows how to join the rush and make sure that the back checking would be there in the event that the puck gets turned over and everything like that, Walker will be even better. Give it time. You will see, I would imagine he'll have somewhere between 10 and 15 goals at some point over the course of this season. I think he'll hit 10, maybe 15. That's distinctly possible with Sean Walker. Now, even if he doesn't do it in his first season, I could definitely see him doing it in the next season. So, even though he's only got 1 goal, he's played incredibly well, in my opinion. So, I'm cooking up something about that pair that I'm going to make one of my first articles that I write on X is going to be about the Walker and Gostisbehere pair. All right. So here's the last thing right here. And this is before I really get to add in all the other stuff I wanted to add in, but I've got it right here on my notes. Pyotr Kochekov is starting tonight. He is 7-1-0. That is incredibly good, despite some of the performances he's had where the team in front of him has had to bail him out. There will be times where the team in front of him needs him to bail them out. There are times where Kochekov will have to bail the team in front of him out. So it's a fair trade-off, if you ask me. 2.51 goals against average, which has helped contribute to the Hurricanes having a 2.33 goals against average per game for the entire team. 896 save percentage. Don't be surprised if you see that go above 900 after tonight, especially if the Hurricanes win, because the Avalanche are not as much volume shooters as the Hurricanes are, but they definitely are going to put some shots on, especially later in the game, especially if they're down. Alexander Georgiev is 1-5-0 with a 4.05 goals against average and an 847 save percentage. The Hurricanes can really, really take advantage of the fact that he is struggling in net. All right, let's see. We got some more comments here, actually, and this might be something that I didn't see before. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me go back to this here. BTS says yellow. What's up, buddy? Frank the Tank says he is learning to hold back. I like Piotr's aggressive mentality makes shooters honest. Yeah, I'm glad he's holding back. He's finding that happy medium between let me challenge aggressively, keep them from being able to get a clean shot on net. I know I've got a really good defense in front of me. Just don't go to the blue line and try to help Jacob Slavin deny entry. He does not need your help. That's the only thing. But he's getting a lot better about that. So, and I think the more consistently he plays, the more he turns his brain off and everything just starts becoming automatic to him. I think I think he really learned from that mistake he made in Vancouver that could have cost Carolina that game had it not been for Sebastian Aho and mostly Shane Gostisbehere in overtime. Frank the Tank says best conditioned team in the league. Yes, absolutely. Orlov is a plus 12. Heck yeah, yes he is. Lackey, what's up, dude? Roslovic, Cy Young rung is still going strong. LMA. Yeah, I know, right? Oh, by the way, Lackey, I always wondered if that was an Animaniac thing in your little profile on X, and now I know that it is thanks to seeing this. I appreciate that. Catherine Bartlett, Martin is starting. Okay, I did not know that. I was under the impression that Kochekov was going to start, but considering that Carolina should be able to win this game, I can see why they do that. So, Martin, we have no stats for him at the moment. He is 0-0-0 with a 0.000 and 0. So we'll see how he does. Colorado drafted him. That is true. Dustin Wilkie, how you doing, buddy? Shouldn't the Canes give Martin a game just to keep him sharp? Yes, I thought that he was going to go against Vegas, but it looks like he's going tonight against Colorado. And that makes sense because I think Kochekov will be more serviceable in a game against Vegas. Because when it comes to, and I'll get back to the rest of the stuff here in a second after this last comment, Lackey also says, do you like Martin getting the start tonight? Give him a little extra break before Vegas. Yeah, I think that's good considering he started both the games over the course of the week and the one last Sunday. So one of the things that I do want to point out, and I'll go back to the slide that I'll go back to this slide here for a second. All righty. Now, one of the things that I wanted to point out when I was talking about the difference where how much offense Colorado is getting primarily from, I'll go back through here real quick. Colorado is getting the overwhelming majority of its offense from Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Casey Middlestat, and Cale Makar. Carolina's offense, they're getting it from a little bit of everywhere. They're legitimately scoring by committee. I know that term's been a little bit overused and overapplied when you're talking about Carolina, but in this case, they really are scoring by committee right now. Everybody on the team has at least 4 points except for William Carrier and Jordan Stahl. And honestly, those guys could be valuable without putting up a point all year just because of them going out there playing the shutdown game, eating up minutes, forechecking, and possessing the puck so much and giving the guys who are weapons scoring threats, give them time to get their legs back on the bench and come back out for the next shift. They generated a lot of offensive zone draws because of all the time that they spend in the offensive zone. They put a puck on net, force the goalie to freeze it, and the next thing you know, the Aho line or the Natchez line, the Gostisbehere and Walker pair, or Slavin and Burns, whomever, go out there, and those are guys that bring a lot of lethality to offensive zone draws. So they're all doing their job. You're getting a good equal distribution of production from pretty much everybody in the lineup. So when it comes to Colorado, not to say that they don't have other guys who can't score, but what it comes right down to is if you keep Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Casey Middlestat, and Cale Makar off the board, Carolina probably wins this game. Another thing here to note, their goalie that is starting tonight is 1-5-0. He has a 4.05 goals against average and an 8.47 save percentage, and this team is 31st in the league for goals against per game. So here's ultimately what it comes down to, and I'm going to consult my notes for this right here because I didn't get a chance to put them in the slides. Wrong page. All right, here we go. So what it ultimately comes down to is scoring forwards, and what I mean by that is top six forwards typically. Colorado has a definitive advantage, and that is 99% because of McKinnon, and the rest of it is because of Rantanen. So that's the big thing, and Middlestat. That's the big thing to remember there. Defense overall, Carolina has a better defense, but they do have a weapon back there in Cale Makar. So if this becomes a game where it's a situation where the stars take over, where the best players are the best players, completely unmitigated, Colorado wins this game. So if you mitigate, because you're not going to stop Nathan McKinnon from scoring all night. It's not happening. You can plan for it, you can try, but you probably won't. If you keep McKinnon, McCarr, keep those guys off the board, you probably win. If it becomes a war of attrition through speed and depth becomes a factor and fatigue becomes a factor, even in the Mile High City, Carolina has the definitive advantage when you're talking about depth. Defense, all six, I'm giving Carolina the advantage. Then when we go back to look at power play, Colorado clearly has an advantage there. And penalty kill, Carolina has the advantage there. Special teams net, they're kind of close just because of how good Colorado's power play is. Goaltending, I initially had advantage Carolina on here since Kochetkov was in. Now we have Spencer Martin going in, and the closest sample size we have to him is when he played against Boston last season. I believe was the last game he played, and he did pretty good. So I think that I'm going to call goaltending a toss-up. It's going to be close. We'll see how Spencer Martin does. But if Spencer Martin can go out there and win a goaltending matchup against Alexander Grigoriev, then everything's going to be fine. So basically what it comes down to is Carolina's the better team 5-on-5. They just need to stay out of the box or let the penalty kill be up to the task of taking on the second best power play in the league. Now, as far as overall power play depth goes, their top unit has McKinnon, Middlestat, and McCarr on it. If you shut down their top unit, their second unit probably doesn't get it done. And that's about it. If it becomes a depth battle in any situation, be it needing the PP2 to break through when PP1 can't, or needing the penalty kill to come up big, or needing to be the more dominant team 5-on-5, I think Carolina's got all the advantages in that regard. If this becomes a getting McKinnon situation or getting McCard situation, Colorado wins this game. You keep their stars off the board. Don't let them have the middle of the ice. Let them play the speed game all you want. Contain them. Don't try to step up on them too early. Don't try and take away time and space in situations where they're going to break your ankles and make you look stupid. As long as you contain those guys, Carolina will win this game. So let's take a look at some of the remaining comments here, and then we're going to get ready because puck drop is in 12 minutes. I'm going to grab me one more of these sparkling waters here, and I'm going to watch the game. And I will be doing intermission posts tonight, provided I can stay awake, which I think I will. Frank the Tank says Colorado aids a goof team with a bad record. They will make the playoffs. Yes, that's what I was saying at the beginning of the show. Like, they're absolutely mired in injuries. If they had Ross Colton and Gabriel Landeskog and Miles Wood, like, actually, let me go back and look and see who all it was that was on this list. Ross Colton, Miles Wood, Jonathan Drouin, Gabriel Landeskog, Tucker Pullman. The first four alone make this team significantly better, and that's with Jonathan Drouin being kind of an honorable mention. But Ross Colton, Miles Wood, and Gabriel Landeskog, this team is completely different. Like, for example, Carolina not having Jack Roslovic, Jordan Stahl, and we'll say Eric Robinson at a minimum. That's kind of the equivalent that you're looking at. Like, this team is good. It's just they don't have their full lineup in, and their goalie is not that great. That's it. It's still a good team. They'll still make the playoffs. They just had a rough start. They're going to start figuring stuff out with shuffling the lines and everything. We just don't want them to do it tonight. Me being the big Teemu Selanne fan that I am, I actually like Colorado a whole lot. Catherine says, plus Nichushkin is out on suspension, probably back on 11-15. Yeah, I forgot about that. Good point. Do they run man-D or a zone? Colorado appears to run more of a zone defense than a man defense. It doesn't look a ton like Carolina's. There's a lot of teams, like I know Tampa really like doing the hybrid style defensive zone stuff. I would say Colorado, it's definitely more of a zone style than man-on-man style, like what Carolina plays. The one upside of the man-on-man defense that Carolina plays, if Nathan McKinnon does not come in, for example, if Nathan McKinnon does not enter the zone with the puck, the man-on-man style of defense usually prevents a clean pass getting to someone who's as dangerous as Nathan McKinnon. The problem is, if he enters with possession, someone like Mikko Rantanen is really good at finding open ice, getting to the front of the net and either scoring a greasy one or getting a clean look and putting it in himself. But yeah, that's about it. So if anybody else has any more, if there's any more comments, I'll entertain them real quick, but then I'll go ahead and cut this and we'll get ready for the game. Oh, I guess Frank wanted to say hi. Come here, buddy. Sit. He didn't want me to end the show without saying hi. You had a whole lot of fun at the cabin, didn't you, buddy? You got to go on all kinds of cool hikes. You saw all kinds of birds and squirrels, hogs, horses. You saw some cows. All right, buddy. I'm gonna go get this guy. I'm gonna get this guy a couple of treats and watch the game. Everybody, thank you very much for joining me. I will try to do damage report after this. Frank the Tank, is there a community page? Should get an FB page for the group. So I actually don't mess with Facebook. I could make a community page on X though, because they do have those, and that's been on my list of things to do. I just haven't got to it yet, but something like that, I'm not opposed to at all. No, I've also considered like jumping on Instagram as well, just to kind of expand and everything like that. I've got an account on Rumble, but I'm not streaming over there yet. So eventually this is going to expand. I'm actually working on getting a website too, with a better email address, because I had the warning take on at gmail.com and I accidentally deleted it, and that's why it's warningtakehockey@gmail.com, and I don't like that. So I'm hoping to get the URL for the website and have contact@thewarningtake.com or something like that for the email address, thewarningtake.com obviously being the actual like website address itself, and then have a consolidated place for YouTube videos where I can just hyperlink them, articles, posts on X, all that type of stuff. Like just I've got plans. I really do. I just haven't enacted as many of them as I want to yet. And hopefully, depending on how things go tonight, I have something very, very special coming out sometime in the next couple of days. And it involves a certain Colorado native that plays for the Carolina Hurricanes, whose sweater happens to be hanging up over there. Catherine says, should be a fun one. Enjoy. Yeah, no, this is going to be a fun game. I'm really going to enjoy this one. It'll be the first one I get to sit down and watch since last Sunday, because I was hate watching the entire time because I don't like the Caps. My kid dug the show. Awesome, dude. I'm happy to hear that. 10-4. Always watch if I can. Absolutely. And you guys watching, all the support and everything, I'm always really grateful. I'm always really appreciative of it. Thank you so much. I will hopefully see you guys after the game. Y'all take care. I will see you soon.